Welcome, everybody. We are back for another fun episode of Indie Reads Aloud. Today, J.L. Maynor, I know him as Jason, is here today. He is a science fiction author, and he's going to share a little bit from his book, WarpStar, which is book one in the First Contact series. Welcome, Jason. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So tell me a little bit about your writing journey. How did you one day come to the understanding that you were going to be an author?
It wasn't a one-day experience, that's for sure. Everything started way back in high school. I was, I honestly don't know why it started, it happened, or what my thought process was. In between classes, sometimes during classes, I was just bored. I wasn't challenged. I needed to do something, and then I was really obsessed with Star Trek at the time, and so
Mm-hmm.
I just had the idea of, oh, let me just start writing Star Trek fan fiction and just for fun. And after a while, I was reading over my story over and over and over again, and I'm thinking, this can be so much more than
Ah,
Star Trek. This
okay.
is so much because I had written the timeline. It was actually kind of separate from Star Trek, but with Star Trek elements to it. So I decided, you know what? I am just going to wipe this clean, erase everything Star Trek from it, and start it from its own unique perspective and see what it does.
That's very awesome.
Yeah, and that's how the original script was born, the original manuscript. And then it took me another, I would say, close to 10 years to make it in a form where all of a sudden my brain was like, hey, why not publish this?
Yeah,
You
right.
know?
Yeah,
And then
I find it really entertaining how so many people believe being an author is an overnight success thing.
oh
No,
no.
it's a 10 years of slogging through stuff overnight success thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, very,
Exactly.
very cool. Tell
And
me about your First Contact series. What's the overarching umbrella of story for the entire series?
so I set it in the distant future.
Okay,
During Earth's or humanity's one of their darkest times and how they came out of it. Um, Unfortunately, I needed to create a war because when wartime happens, a lot of technological advancements happen.
sure.
So, because of the war, we were able to push out into the universe, colonize the universe. We discovered alien tech that allowed jumping from system to system, and that's how humanity decided to start expanding and going to different and colonizing different solar systems close to Earth. And the whole concept of it is, I would say, it's the journey that humanity took from shooting and killing each other to finally uniting, bringing up into the stars, and serving humanity until we ran into and we did first contact with the galactic community. And then we really needed to be unified to stop the threat that was looming.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, so it's about figure out how to make life better and then run up against a new challenge and then work through the challenge
Yeah,
um
exactly.
and while trying to save your species at the same time.
Exactly.
No small order.
No.
Okay. So, today in your reading, I want to warn our listeners, make you aware that we do have a listener advisory for this book today. It will have violence and strong language because, as Jason said, we are kind of in the middle of a war in a future dystopia, and anything is possible and usually probable. So, if you have little ears listening in today, I would highly recommend that you preview this episode before you let the little ones listen, just to be on the safe side. Jason,
This
what
is
else do you need to tell us before you start your reading?
well, back onto what you were saying about the advisor. This is a military themed book, so
Sure.
in the military, it's very wild. But I also in my entire series, I try to be as realistic as I can while also being a fantastical book, sci-fi. I use real Newtonian physics, real sensor readings. The speed of light matters. But there is still some fantasy elements that I had to put in there.
Well, of course, yeah, because it's in the future and we don't know what that will
Exactly.
bring to us. So,
Exactly.
but I absolutely respect your desire to maintain the science that we know
Mm-hmm.
because I think that gives us a good foundation. Ray Bradbury did the same thing. He used the science that we know to then jumpstart his creative world. So
James
I
S.A. Corey.
totally respect that. All right, I am interested and excited to hear you read a little bit. So you're going to be reading WarpStar, Book One in the First Context series. Jason, when you are ready, please take the microphone and read aloud.
This is starting at chapter 9. I had a tough decision to where to pick it because chapters 7 through 9 through 10 merge into the same one. So, just for time's sake, I'm going to start with chapter 9.
Perfect.
WarpStar. The Command Information Center played a symphony of mechanical brilliance. The hum from the air recyclers produced a harmonic tune with the hum of the ventilation systems. The melody was beating away in perfect sync with some of the sensor equipment. The percussion lines were being played by the boots of the crew and the taps of the fingers on the equipment. It all produced a song of life, as there were no other signs of it. Most of the crew wore headsets and were deeply involved in the various sensor systems and communicating with their various departments throughout the ship. The room did not have any light sources except those being produced from the monitors and datapads. Ensign Jennifer Smedley was proud of her CIC. It ran smoothly, perfect enough to conduct her makeshift symphony. The crew who served under her in the department had mixed feelings about her as she was younger than most of them. Just turning 19, she had already an ensign and had considerable experience in the CIC, including managing the department on board the late dreadnought Avenger. Her crew was well disciplined and was trained well under her. No one let any animosity affect their work. Ensign Smedley had arrived. Ensign Smedley had a ritual that most CIC commanders did not follow in practice. Every so often, she would make her rounds and glance at the screens of all her crew monitors. It was not that she didn't trust any of them, but she believed fresh eyes every so often would be the difference between life or death. The CIC was the eyes and ears of any ship, while the bridge had access to all the sensors and all the information the CIC had. They didn't have two junior officers dedicated to monitoring each individual sensor. The ops station on the bridge was the one who had the most access to the sensors, so whoever was on ops duty would glance at them all. The CIC had 20 crew members looking at the sensors and 15 more who relayed information to and from the CIC. The CIC commander glanced at the optical station and asked for a report, seeing something she found to be odd. She was hoping to get a concrete answer. All scopes clear, ma'am. Nothing to report. Petty Officer First Class James Fairhay replied, glancing at his station several times before reporting. All scopes, sit rep. Jennifer stood behind the optical, staring at the screen, something not sitting right with her. The sensor technicians in each scope sounded off. Graviton, clear. Thermals, clear. Radar, offline, set to passive. LiDAR, offline, set to passive. Theta, offline, set to passive. Opticals, clear. Electromagnetics, clear. Neutrinos, clear. LiDAR, offline, set to passive. Radio, clear. The chief petty officer on duty gave the official all clear, all scopes clear, ma'am. Optical, recheck your scope. All passive systems check bearing 1950 drift. Jennifer called out, order again, noticing something directly behind the ship. She couldn't tell what it was, and apparently the computers had no idea either. She walked to her command station and brought up all passive data to check them herself, focusing on a spot directly behind them. All scopes clear, ma'am, the chief said, again after everyone rechecked. But he was interrupted from the secondary optical officer making a call. Ma'am, I don't see anything where you requested. However, I am getting activity on those Legion ships. They appear to be burning hard directly toward us. Estimated a 1500 G burn. Relativity is distorting their approach. If the system is correct, we have an intercept ETA in 1 hour. 1 hour? She shot up, shocked. As of the last estimate, the ships were still more than 7 light hours away. They shouldn't be more than 50 hours out. She grabbed the mic at her station but would not look away from her screen. Something was there, she just knew it. Then it was confirmed. Ma'am, confirmed fast mover right where you said it would be, the optical petty officer in charge finally called out. Without hesitation, without questioning anyone, she flipped the 18MC and made her report. Con, CIC, new contact, bearing 1950 degree drift, 22 light seconds out. Estimated impact in 15 seconds. Now I'm going to do a quick pause there. Right there is a error that I had made in writing the book, and I did not catch it. A lot of my readers did not catch it after. It wasn't until the audiobook was created that when I reheard it, I'm sitting here going, that is a physics error. It should be a lot less than 15 seconds out, being 22 light seconds out. So it should be actually a lot longer. 22 light seconds out. It was traveling slower than the speed of light, so it should be more like a couple of minutes, roughly. So, anyways,
Well, in fiction, we get to make things up, so it's all okay.
true, but that does define go against the laws that I had created in the book. So
Okay.
it's a failure on my part.
Well, go
So
ahead.
John had moseyed his way onto the bridge after the proposal from the ship's helmswoman. It was a great idea, something he wished he would have thought of. Being a tactical genius, that should have been his department. Shar continued their long competition without him even knowing it, and this time she beat him at his own game. He couldn't help but smile as he sat in his command chair in the command island, where getting much better at where she was getting much better at the game. She might even be a better captain than him someday. He almost burned his lips on his coffee, still piping hot straight from the galley, when the 18MC crackled to life, defining the calm that silence was on the bridge. Helm, emergency ventral thrust, full burn, 20 seconds, he called out, not giving time to sound any maneuvering warnings when the junior officer at the helm pushed a few buttons, and the ship thrust into everyone from underneath them. John was the only one on the bridge not strapped in. He stumbled, trying to strap in quickly before his coffee was flung from the side table, spilling everywhere. 15 seconds was all John needed to hear. That was the sort of emergency decision that any good commander had to make. Life or death in the blink of an eye. He did not have time to weigh the benefits of remaining in stealth or dodging out of the way, giving away their location. At 15 seconds impact estimation, something was moving at extreme speeds. Someone had thrown an object at them, and for the CIC to not detect it sooner, it was a stealth object. Something along the lines of a railgun dart. It needed to be a solid object that had no reactor, no energy output at all. Nothing natural would have been aimed so precisely at their rear at such high speeds. If whatever fired that shot knew how to design with such precision, their stealth was blown anyways. Con, CIC, Legion contacts burning hard towards us. Excess of 500 Gs. We are having trouble estimating proper ETA to intercept, as general relativity is interfering with the scopes. We are estimating they are burned in excess of zero point 0.8 C. Best guess, 1 hour. John had to act. He had no time for decision making. Helm, emergency burn thrusters, all stern, full power. He didn't need to do the calculations in his head to know that 1 hour was a generous estimation. For the sensor systems to just now pick up movement meant the Legion would have had to have started their burn only moments after they had entered the system. This logic confirmed a few things. First, the Legion had faster than light communications somehow. Whatever object fired off those gamma and theta rays they detected must have warned the Armada. Secondly, they had the capability to use sensors beyond what relatively would distort. Traveling at 80% of the speed of light would prevent the best Federation ships from knowing anything about their surrounding space. The time for decisions and planning was over. It was time to act. Unfortunately, they were still too far from their goal. Shar's plan might no longer work. General quarters, set condition 1, all hands battle stations, John yelled out over the 1MC as he pulled the red klaxon lever 3 times. Set condition 1, ensign car, to the bridge. It would take time for the crew to get back up to speed from silent running. The fusion and FTL reactors needed time to run their power-up cycles while the battery systems started to divert power to the inertial stabilizers and gravity plating systems. During high-G maneuvers, the inertia and gravity subsystems were some of the most vital systems on board, as they all allow the crew to survive the crushing maneuvers that would otherwise kill them before ordnance would. Luckily for Carr, Lieutenant Donovan, the ship's chief engineer, was already warming up the reactors and the inertia subsystems. Gravity was restored while she was in the lift on her way up to the bridge. Fusion reactors came online the moment she sat in her cockpit chair, grabbing the controls while relieving the junior officer who took the helm in her absence. "How the hell did you fuck up my plan, Cat?" she yelled out over the chaos, adjusting her track and taking control of the thrusters. She started the fire-up process for the main engines to start producing thrust out of the main ports. "Unknown object passed clean under us, sir," Lieutenant Jackson reported faster than the CIC could, flagging the report as accepted so Ensign Smedley did not have to report it herself. "Understood." John pulled up the star chart of the system, viewing the location of all combatants in the system around them, watching the sensor systems come to life as power started to get fed into the systems and activate systems starting broadcasting their pulses. "Nav, plot a course to Hoth and send it to the helm. Helm, immediate execute upon receipt of course. All ahead flank." Charlene continued to work her controls, monitoring the status output of the reactors, artificial gravity, effective level, inertial dampener strength. Regardless of the captain's orders, if she pushed the ship to 15 Gs without the dampeners ready to handle the load, she could kill the crew. After only a few seconds, her terminal gave her the green light, indicating fusion reactors were powered adequately and the inertial and gravity subsystems were getting full power. "Helm eye answering all ahead flank," she finally reported. An audible boom could be heard and felt throughout the ship as the engines dumped out superheated particles of matter, demonstrating Newton's third law of motion. The WarpStar darted towards the frozen ice planet, accelerating at a force 15 times the natural gravity of Earth. Starting at the velocity equal to about 20% the speed of light, the ship would quickly reach almost 50% of C before they would reach the planet. Ship sensors would begin to struggle in predicting the location of any object in the system soon when it came time to flip the ship for a braking burn. The crew would have to guess at where the enemy was, a tactic that made commanding officers most nervous. Shar pointed out the flaw in the current captain's plans that would not be foreseen. The X-401 fighter that the WarpStar carried were not equipped with any inertial dampeners or gravity systems. The pilots felt every maneuver and acceleration. "Sir, my pilot will not survive the braking burn at these speeds," she said. "We have to brake now. Get us to around 0.15 of C at most." "Well, shit," John shouted, staring at his display at the last known estimated location and track of the hostile ships. "Suggestions?" he asked, no one in particular around the bridge. He had a solution in mind himself, but he didn't want to use it. "Sir, 2 minutes maximum until point of no return safe breakpoint. My pilot will be crushed at these speeds. He can't launch anymore." John glanced around the room, from his pilot to his executive officer, then to tactical and ops. No one had a solution that would prevent the pilot from being killed before he could get into position. "Continuous plan. Do not launch your pilot. Calculate me a point of no return with the braking burn at most of 20 Gs. Charles gave John a look of horror and began to check the straps on his couch to ensure they were secured. Warning sounds began ringing off several consoles on the bridge. "Sir, confirm target lock. We are receiving fire." Lieutenant Jackson read off the reports, which John ignored as he brought up a control terminal on his console, inputting a string of code and checking several lines of settings. He sent them to a target called Betsy. "Betsy, did you receive that?" John spoke into the mic. No one knew who he was talking to. No one except Charlene, who immediately glanced over to John with a look of pure evil. "Excellent. Can you execute this plan?" The bridge crew gave glances at their captain, and Char's face grew into a deeper red, with fiery eyes, targeting thoughts of destruction at her CO. "Understood. Execute orders." Charlene's death gaze was interrupted from her control panel, sounding a warning of its own. "We are approaching the breakpoint, sir," she yelled out. "Perfect timing. Cut thrust. Flip and burn, ensign. Helm eye. Cutting thrust." "Sir, how are we going to—" Charles asked, but was interrupted by a klaxon that rang twice. "All hands rigged for high G maneuvers," John spoke into the 1MC. Everyone made sure their straps were secured and the couches were pointed in the proper position for a braking burn. Charlene brought the thrust level to its neutral position as she began to rotate the ship to a point her drives were in the direction they were traveling, preparing to fire off more thrust to reduce the speed at a quicker pace than they were accelerating. Sir, reading fighter bay door is opening. I can't override it. We have a fighter that has left the bay. Heidi Watney, the ship's security and tactical officer, reported. Everyone ignored her report. The entire bridge crew was staring at the forward viewports as they completed the rotation needed. The view was horrifying. They saw the Legion ships finally getting into position at an almost relative stop to their position. Matching course and speed, the Legion Armada had managed to close a 7 light-hour gap, a trip that would have taken just over a day in just over 8 hours of actual time, presenting a level of technology only possible in science fiction. Incoming fire, Heidi reported. Char, John shouted, subliminally asking her to kick it up a notch in her maneuver. Punching it now. And that's the end of my 15 minutes.
Well done. The tension in that scene is so high.
It was one of my absolute favorite chapters to write.
It's very cool. Um, I know you said it took you about 10 years to actually write this book. How much of that time was spent in scientific research?
A lot. I'm probably on several FBI watch lists by now.
Ah, okay. I
I,
I
I,
hope you have someone in your family designated to erase your search history when you die.
nope, not at all. I, I want my books to be out there. I don't care.
Perfect. Perfect. So, without giving too much away, who is your favorite character in this book?
It would have to be hands down Charlene Carr.
And why?
Well, I am going to say a little secret that no one quite understands. Even though the first book, WarpStar, isn't written mainly in her point of view,
Hmm.
she's actually the main character out of the entire series. And she's a fiery soul. She doesn't have no fears, no um, bad ambitions around her. She wants to grow. She came from a family that was in the lower echelons of the classes in the
Hmm.
Federation. She was the first person in her family not only to graduate high school, but to enter the Federation's academy and then to graduate the academy. Then,
Okay.
beyond that, she challenged everyone she could and became the best pilot in the entire Navy. But
Fantastic.
she isn't all perfect either.
Well, none of
Later,
us are.
that's true. Later on in the book, I think with chapter 14, somewhere right around there, she makes a critical mistake that challenges everything that she thinks or she knows. So her cockiness gets checked real quick, and then
Yeah.
she has to step it down, reevaluate, and try to think of what went wrong, what she could have done better, and how it
And
could have
make
played
a
out.
better choice.
Exactly.
Yeah. No,
And she
that's
does
very
that a
cool.
lot. Yeah, she.
So, out of all your characters, I want you to think now about the villains in your book, whether they're primary or secondary villains. Out of all of those villain characters, what is the one trait that you had the most fun writing for that villain?
I would have to say Queen Nathaniel's pure psychotic nature.
Okay.
I mean,
What is it
absolute
about her
psychotic.
psychosis that was fun for you?
Well, when she was killing an allied character, she was doing it in such a manner where she was laughing and having fun at it.
Yeah.
And then,
So
you
she's
know,
a
she,
little maniacal.
oh, very, very much
Okay.
so. And she does it to practically anyone, friend or foe. She shoots some of her slaves. She kills some of the military leaders under her. And then she just does whatever she possibly can to destroy humans.
Okay.
But a
Perfect.
little
It
secret
sounds
at the end of book two, something happens to where she gets a redemption arc.
I like it when villains find that. That's always a good thing. How many books are in this series?
Right now, technically three are published. Two main novels and a novella are published
Okay.
right now.
And then are you planning on adding more stories to this series, or are you
Oh,
going to write something
absolutely.
different?
No, I'm still kicking at it. There is one novella in the works, and the third mainline book is in the works. I'm
Fantastic.
I'm 75% done with the first draft of that third book, and already it's the largest book in the series.
Excellent. Excellent. So book one and two are out now, right now.
WarpStar and Epsilon.
Okay. And you'll come back and read from Epsilon for us on another day? Yes?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Fantastic. I'm so glad to have met you today, Jason. Thank you so
It's,
much
it's been a
for
pleasure for
sharing
me
your
too.
work, and we'll look forward to having you back again soon.
I honestly can't wait.
Thank you very
Oh,
much.
can I say
Yeah,
one thing? I,
absolutely.
I apologize for my reading. I am not a good reader. That's why I hired Zane Boyer to narrate the WarpStar book, and he did a
You're
fantastic job at the
it's great
audiobook.
when we find audio actors that are so wonderful, but
Oh yeah.
I got to tell you, I thought your reading was splendid.
Oh, I know I screwed up a couple times there.
But we all do. It's okay.
Yeah.
I hope you have an awesome day, Jason.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.